So, Mark, Michael Mayer's your guy. I'm going to throw it to you first here. Talk to me about your tight end one in this class.
Yeah, so I can put my bias out there so everyone knows where I'm coming from here. I am a Notre Dame fan. So Michael Mayer, I've definitely watched more of live games-wise than any other prospect we'll talk about other than Isaiah Foskey. So he's definitely a guy I've seen a lot of. And he's probably my favorite Notre Dame offensive prospect of my life that's not an offensive lineman. In terms of skill positions, Notre Dame, not often a team that's churning out a lot of quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends into the draft. Well, I shouldn't say that. They churn out a lot of tight ends, but not as many that has been as good at the college level as Michael Mayer. And Michael Mayer is just absolutely rock solid. 6'4.5", 249, 7.58 relative athletic score. Pretty average tests all around. A lot of that in terms of how high that RAS is due to his size. His size is definitely very plus. His speed isn't going to be a weapon, but it's not going to be an issue either, in my opinion. He actually put up an identical time to TJ Hawkinson, who still went top 10 a few years back and is, I don't know, probably a top 7 tight end in the NFL. There's an argument out there that people think he could lose a little bit of the Notre Dame weight room pounds that he put on. It seems like Notre Dame kind of trains their tight ends to be offensive linemen in certain ways with the way that they are built. I mean, you can look at Tommy Tremble with the way that he's built as well. But Mayer is a former 5-star prospect, 3-year starter at Notre Dame, the elite program when it comes to producing tight ends, especially tight ends that help in terms of blocking.
All right. So my tight end one, is number 3 for both Dives and Mark. It is Darnell Washington, the tight end out of Georgia. Darnell Washington was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school. He's got a basketball background, which you hear a lot with tight ends. I don't know why, but it seems like all the good tight ends played basketball. He was the 2nd-ranked athlete in his class and 23rd-ranked player overall. He is 6'7", 264 pounds. By the way, it's 93rd percentile height, 85th percentile weight. He is 98th percentile wingspan, 98th percentile hand size. He ran a 4.6 40-yard dash, which is 79th percentile for tight ends. He ran a 4.08 shuttle, which is 97th percentile. That was the 3rd best shuttle at the combine among all players, including defensive backs, wide receivers, you name it. Like, uber athletic. He's got a 9.85 relative athletic score. I would have sworn that it was going to be the 10.0, but we're actually going to get to the 10.0 later in the show. Now, in 2022, he only had 28 receptions for 454 yards, 16.2 yards per reception, and 2 touchdowns. I just love this guy. He is a first off the bus player. He's massive. We talked about it. Like, he strikes fear in opposing defenses, and he is a tremendous blocker. Like, he displaces defensive ends in run blocking. He can get to the 2nd level to linebackers. He moves across formations easily and like split zone flow. He's good in pass protection. Like, I legitimately think if tight end doesn't work out for Darnell Washington, that he could switch to offensive tackle. Dives, I'll let you lead us off on Dalton Kincaid. Tell us what you like about him.
Really fun prospect. Blends like receiver-esque route running ability at 6'4", 240 pounds, has above average size, impressive overall wingspan. But this is a guy as a receiver, gets open easily, stresses defensive backs downfield, elevates, extends for catches, has amazing body control and authority. He's straight up awesome, man, as a receiver. And I think teams in the NFL will be able to kind of use him anywhere out wide in the slot as an end line tight end. I think he's going to be, just like Darnell Washington, a massive weapon in the red zone, as well as a 3rd down threat. This is a guy that can turn a 5-yard reception into a 15 to 20-yard gain with very little difficulty. He's got really good vision. He's elusive. He's slippery in the open field. He gives me some Travis Kelce vibes as a receiver, but, you know, let's flip it. You cannot ignore his run blocking, which is a major question mark at this given moment. He's just an average blocker, I think. He's not going to be a guy that you can rely on, at least from day one. He struggles to anchor. He's got a light build. He needs to add strength in the NFL. I've got a rounds 1 through 2 grade on Dalton Kincaid. The flashes and the upside of this guy are terrific, though. Love this guy.
I think he was Dibes 9, but so we're going to talk Zach Kuntz first, and then we'll circle back to mine and Dibes number 4. So Mark, lead us off with your guy here.
Do I have to put my what am I missing? What am I missing with this Zach Kuntz guy? We're putting Darnell Washington as tight end 1. Zach Kuntz had more production in 1 year than Darnell Washington had, and he graded out better. I'm obviously not saying you should go above Darnell Washington, by the way.
If you're listening at home right now or on your phone, go to mockdraftable.com and pull up Zach Kuntz spider chart. It's literally just a shaded circle. Like everything is like 98th percentile or better. It's insane.
It's the greatest combine performance of all time. There's been other 10.0s, but you go and look at it, it's the greatest combine performance of all time. 6'7", 255. I think he's like a little over 6'7", actually. Like it's like 6'7" and some. And then you put on some spikes, he's up to like 6'8". 10.00 relative athletic score, elite size, huge hands, long arms, elite bench, elite broad, elite vertical, which he's a former high jumps and hurdles state champion. So that makes a lot of sense that he was able to dominate that part of the combine. And then he ran a 4.55. Like, this shouldn't be legal. Like, they should outlaw, they should study this guy, like, for science. It is unbelievable that he's able to move the way he moves at his size. It's even more exceptional that his 10 and 20-yard splits and his shuttle and his 3-cone times were even more elite than the 40 at 4.55 at his size. Like, he's an absolute unicorn. To me, he's the Tariq Woolen of this year's draft to me, which feels weird because it's a tight end instead of a corner. You could also compare him to Jelani Woods. He had a similar rise up the board last year as a trendy relative athletic score darling. But even if Kuntz is a raw project, he checks every box physically and athletically. He only played 5 games in his last year at Old Dominion and only caught 12 of his 28 targets. But in 2021, he showed tremendous upside as a receiver.
Well, let's go to your number 4 then, Dibes. He's also my number 4. He's number 6 for Mark. It is Luke Musgrave, the tight end out of Oregon State. I'll let you lead us off on him.
Oh, man, just a guy who plays a very physical brand of football. A knee injury kept him off the field for most of 2022. If he played a healthy 2022, he'd probably be a top 50 pick. A phenomenal athlete, 4.51 40-yard dash, a Feldman freak, 36.5-inch vertical, explosive and flexible as a route runner, a speed threat against defensive backs in space, extremely natural contortionist with the ball in the air, will snatch it in the air as well, got really good hands. I think he's going to be a really good receiving tight end in the NFL. He's also versatile. He should be the type of tight end that you can play in the slot, play in line, and feel really good about it. Let's get to the concerns. You've got COVID, you've got the injury, and you've got the inconsistency of Oregon State's offense just in the last few years. His lack of snaps and experience are definitely a little more than a little concerning. His best season as a receiver was just 304 yards. Which was the only season he played more than 350 snaps. He needs to work and improve as a blocker. He tends to get too high in his blocks, and he can get overpowered really quickly. I've still got a round 2 grade on this guy, but just add this guy to a long list of amazing tight ends that project with incredible upside in the NFL. I love Luke Musgrave.
We're going to jump into our number 5 guys now. For me, it is Tucker Kraft. For Mark and Dibes, it is Sam Laporta. So let's start with Tucker Kraft. Tight end out of South Dakota State. He entered the 2022 season with a lot of hype after a 65 reception, 780 yard, 6 touchdown campaign in 2021. However, unfortunately, he suffered an ankle injury that caused him to miss 5 games. So he doesn't have the best stats for 2022. He ended up with 27 receptions, 348 yards, and 3 touchdowns in the 9 games that he played. He is 6'5", 254 pounds. He's about 22 and a half years old. And he ran a 4.69 40. Overall had a 9.58 relative athletic score. When you watch Tucker Kraft, I think he's a better blocker in space than he is in line. He's really good at targeting guys out on the move in space, but That's not to say he's a bad blocker in line. He's just better if you can get him out on the move. He's got great size and mass, and he's a really good athlete for his size. I mean, I mentioned the relative athletic score, 9.58. It's really good. And he does a really good job with body control at the catch point. He's really good at contorting his body around, using his body to block guys out at the catch point. However, he's not a very good route runner. He's very underdeveloped in that area. He's got some drop tendencies. He's not necessarily the most natural pass catcher either. And so when I watch him, I just see a guy that's very raw as a player. Well, let's go to the guy who is number 5 on your list. He's number 5 on Dibe's list. Number 6 on mine. It is Sam Laporta, tight end out of Iowa. Dibes, I'll let you lead us off here for this one.
All right. This is a dude who ran the 3rd fastest time of any tight end at the combine, 4.59 seconds. I think this guy is going to be just a terrific middle of the field producer in the NFL from day one. Dangerous threat as a receiver. You look at this guy, he had some record-setting production in an offense that was not really good in the pass game last year. Despite all of that, he ranked 3rd among all tight ends in yards after the catch in 2022. He led all tight ends in broken tackles with 20, and that number ranks 5th among all tight ends over the last decade. This guy is a really good route runner. He does a great job breaking with suddenness, I think. You look at Laporta and like how he did as a receiver. 37.5% of Laporta's receptions last year were contested. That's only 3 tight ends had a lower rate than that, which is a really strong testament just how good he is with his separation ability. Blocking wise, I think he fits in that above average range compared to his peers at this position. Bigger defenders can absolutely overpower him rather easily, but Sam Laporta, I think, has considerable upside, and I've got a day 2 grade on this dude.
Let's keep it rolling here. The only person who we don't have the number 7 for is Dibes. So, Dibes, why don't you tell us about your number 7?
Josh Wiley out of Cincinnati. Arguably the tight end that helped himself the most during Senior Bowl week. For what it's worth, he was voted tight end practice player of the week among his peers. That's how dominant he was at the Senior Bowl. 6'6", 260 pounds, could really move. One of the knocks on this guy coming into the Senior Bowl was his inability to be a sufficient blocker at the next level. Dude, like, he added weight at the Senior Bowl, and he took care of business, man. He passed with flying colors as a blocker. Was a lead in that area. He made Andre Carter look silly on several occasions, which, let's be honest, a lot of offensive linemen also made him look silly. But I think Wiley checks off a lot of boxes as a future tight end 2 in the NFL. He can do a little bit of everything. You can line him up in line. You can go up and play above the rim in the red zone. You can use him in running situations. This has been one of the biggest risers of the draft process. And I view Josh Wiley as a legitimate depth piece with some sneaky upside at the next level. I've got a rounds 3 through 4 grade on Josh Wiley.
Let's hop into our number 8s. I'll go first. I'll give you a chance to catch your breath. I have Luke Schoonmaker from Michigan as my tight end 8. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school. He played quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, and cornerback in high school. So, man of many talents. He is 6'5", 251 pounds. He has 3rd percentile hands, which is kind of crazy. It's like 66th percentile height, 3rd percentile hands. So, small hands, but and he's an older prospect at over about 24 and a half. He ran a 4.63 40. He's got a 9.76 relative athletic score. So when I get to day 3, I'm just looking for athletic guys. In 2022, he had 35 receptions for 418 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's a very good blocker. He's got really good hand placement and grip strength that allows him to seal the edges against linebackers or defensive ends. When he's running routes, like, he fights through contact, he fights through the trash at the line of scrimmage on his releases, and he has the speed to threaten the seam vertically. And I think he really excels at finding soft spots in zone coverage. All right. Well, let's get to your number 8. It is Payne Durham. Talk to me about him.
Payne Durham, man.
It's a great first name for a tight end.
Not a lot of people know about Payne Durham, but just like Josh Wiley, this is a guy that really dominated at the Senior Bowl, had some like incredible highlight reel catches. If the Senior Bowl was as popular as the NFL scouting combine, with Darnell Washington making one-handed grabs, people would be talking about Payne Durham because the dude was making crazy contested catches. He's consistent, very savvy in his route running. I thought this is, again, one of the biggest high risers of the draft. You look at this guy, he can block, he can line up as a fullback, he can be a solid receiving threat. He does not have elite athleticism. He ran a 4.87 40-yard dash at the combine, but that didn't surprise anybody. He was never going to be some hybrid tight end wide receiver guy at the next level. He's more muscle than flash. He dominates in short route scenarios. He's quick off the line of scrimmage, though. This is a guy that can out-muscle defenders on tight window throws. I think he's going to have to start his career as like being a reliable edge blocker in the NFL. But I think he can definitely grow into being like a third and short, third down target, red zone target at the next level. If you're looking for an underrated tight end 2 prospect on day 3, I think Payne Durham's your guy, man. This is definitely one to watch out for.